Hey, what's up boys, it's Fox2 and in today's video I have with me the brand new South African heavy tank, the Olifant Mark II. Now, there are many different variants and upgraded models of the Centurion tank because Britain was really fond of selling this tank abroad, and we have got a few of these variations in game, including the Israeli Shotcar Gamal and the Swedish SDRV 104. But none of them is quite as unique, especially in looks, as the Olifant Mark II, which at its base is a Centurion, but it is one of the most upgraded Centurions in the world, featuring a whole bunch of new stuff. But before I get into reviewing all the upgrades and how this tank performs, I would just first like to run through what shells I am using, since this is a shell guide, which I'll put up on my screen. So first, as we can see here, the shells I choose to run is 15 of the DM63 APF SDS rounds and 5 of the Heat FS rounds, being the M456. Now, the reason I choose 15 of the DM63 is because they have absolutely insane penetration at 430mm average penetration. That is extremely good. I would not recommend you go for the M111 APF SDS rounds because they only have 340mm of penetration. They are not nearly as good as the DM63. And I'd also not recommend you run the M111 as your secondary round, simply because running 2 armor piercing rounds or kinetic shells isn't always that fun. And I personally prefer the Heat FS, which has 400mm of penetration, and also the Heat FS does a whole lot better than APF SDS rounds against large, very low armor tanks, especially vehicles like the Ratel, which we have just gotten as well as part of this platoon. I find the Heat FS does a lot better against tanks like that. Now, moving on to just how the Olifant Mark II performs. It carries a very good gun, that being a modified version of the original British L7 105mm gun. It is very good and packs quite a punch. Now, compared to the original Centurion, the L7 gun has much better fire control systems as well as an improved ballistic computer, especially compared to earlier variants of the Olifant. And it also carries a 6.7 second reload, which is pretty average at this rank, especially since there are lots of other vehicles with the L7 gun, such as the AMX, if I'm not mistaken, also has an L7 gun and an identical reload rate, but that is pretty decent and not too bad. And like I said, the 105mm gun, while it is an average size of gun, it packs a very heavy punch with the DM63 APF SDS round, which has very good penetration. Now, the tank also has 58 km/h top speed forward and 21 in reverse, which is pretty good. I very much like the fact that the reverse speed is good on this vehicle, because I find that is very important, especially when compared to the original Centurion, which had an absolutely horrendous reverse speed, because that was the British style. I am very pleased with this. Now, one of the drawbacks this tank does face, though, is its weight. It is extremely heavy compared to many of its counterparts at this rank, weighing in at 61 tons, as well as having just 17 horsepower per ton, which is not really that good. It means your terrain crossing capabilities are a little bit hindered. Even though it has got good mobility and top speed, it's not going to reach that incredibly easy, and its acceleration is a little bit poor, as well as its rotation speed. The rotation speed on this tank is not that good, especially compared to vehicles such as the AMXs and the Leopards. It's just not super amazing, and it does not come up to their level. Also, the armor is not the best. It does have upgraded armor from the Centurion, but still at its base it is a Centurion, and when it's fighting against many of the vehicles at this rank which have incredibly good guns, such as the Chieftain Mark X, the Leopard A1A1, the Leopard A1A5, and many of the other vehicles that have very good guns, this tank is not going to do too well against them, so you have to play it very carefully because of that fact. Now, I did mention that its weight is pretty bad. Now, even though its weight is pretty bad, it does still have okay mobility, like I said, even though it's not perfect compared to the other vehicles of this rank. It does have decent mobility because it has an improved transmission to the original Centurion, which also means, like I said, it can go 21 kilometers per hour in reverse. And that, for me, is pretty decent, but like I said, the armor being bad is for me my biggest drawback to this tank. I have really been enjoying it in many aspects except for the armor. That, for me, is the worst issue. But you do also have the Chieftain Mark 10, which has pretty decent armor in this platoon to compensate. Now, there are many other tanks with little armor, such as the Leopard A1A1, which I really love, but they have got some more really good upsides compared to the Oliphant, which I feel is a little bit average on most of its other stats. For example, the Leopard A1A1 has really good mobility and excellent gun handling. And while the Oliphant has good gun handling, I just don't feel it is as comfortable as the Leopard A1A1, in my opinion at least. And that is pretty much all I have to say about this vehicle. It's a pretty cool looking vehicle and I have been enjoying it, although like I said, it has got quite a few drawbacks. Now, as always guys, please let me know in the comments below what you guys think of the new platoon, especially the Oliphant Mark II OPV, which I reviewed in today's video. And also, if you enjoyed this video, please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.